Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy, a one stop destination for the English medium civil services aspirants. Let's get started with the analysis of today's The Hindu newspaper. These are the topics that we shall be discussing today. After the session is over, I will share the PDF of this lecture in my Telegram group. The link to join my Telegram group is provided in the video description. And an important activity that you will have to do today. You will have to like the session and let me know in the comment section if this session has been of some help to you in your civil services preparation. Let's look at topic number one. Supreme Court pulls up. Tamil Nadu governor sets deadline to clear bills. Now, a landmark verdict has been given by the Supreme Court yesterday. Effectively, what Supreme Court has done, the Supreme Court has rewritten the Constitution. And you can say that this is the classic example of judicial activism. And what Supreme Court has done, Supreme Court has invoked its plenary powers under Article 142 of the Constitution in giving this verdict. Landmark verdict, and we will understand this topic in great detail. But before we start, I don't normally share my personal opinions in my classes, but today I think I must. The governor of Tamil Nadu must resign. If he does not resign, he should be sacked. Particularly after this judgment, he's been a disgrace to the high constitution office that he is holding. He is an individual about whom we were warned by the members of the Constituent Assembly. For example, one member of the Constituent Assembly, Mr. K.T. Shah, he had called for the abolition of the office of the governor. When the office of governor was being discussed in the Constituent Assembly, he said we should not have this office. And he particularly warned us of people like Mr. Ravi, who is going to occupy this office and he is going to destabilize the elected state governments, and that is going to be an assault on federalism. So the governor must resign or he should be sacked. But be that as it may, Constitution talks about under Article 163 of the Constitution that there shall be council of ministers, and this council of ministers shall be headed by the chief minister, and there has to be a governor. There shall be council of ministers with the chief minister at its head to aid and advise the governor. And the constitution says the governor shall act on the aid and advice of the chief minister, except when the governor is to act in his discretion. But the problem is, what are these discretionary powers of the governor? When the governor need not act on the aid and advice of the chief minister and council of ministers. These discretionary powers have not been defined in the constitution. But constitution further says if at all there is a dispute as to what constitutes the discretionary powers of the governor, the word of the governor shall be final, which basically means that the governor of the state, according to the constitution, gets to decide his or her discretionary powers. And this discretionary power, allegation is, has been misused by the governors in dismissing the chief ministers, in recommending imposition of the president's rule, in appointing the chief ministers, in asking the chief ministers to prove their majority on the floor of the state legislature, so on and so forth. But their discretionary powers and their misuse is stark when it comes to Article 200 of the Constitution, which primarily talks about assent to bills. When a bill has been passed by the state legislature, this bill is sent to the governor of the state. What are the options available with the governor? There are three options. One, the governor shall give his assent. Second, the governor shall withhold assent. Third, the governor shall reserve it for the consideration of the president. Of course, there is one more option, but I will clarify that a little later. And that option is send the bill back for reconsideration. And there was a time when constitutional experts thought that this is another option available with the president, with the governor. But Supreme Court has clarified it some time ago. And what is that clarification? Listen to me carefully. When a bill has been passed by the state legislature, it is sent to the governor. What are the options available with the governor? The governor can give his assent, which means no problem, the bill is passed. The governor shall withhold assent. That means the governor shall publicly declare that I'm not going to sign this bill. And previously, we thought that whenever the governor declares, publicly declares that I'm not going to sign this bill, this is what we call an absolute veto, and that would mean the death of the bill. But the Supreme Court previously has clarified that even when the governor says publicly that I'm not going to sign this bill, that does not mean the bill is dead. Then what the governor has to do? The governor has to send the bill back to the state legislature for reconsideration. And if the same bill is passed again by the state legislature without taking into account the problems or the challenges or the comments of the governor, then it becomes binding on the governor to sign, to give assent to this bill. The only exception is that you cannot send a money bill back for reconsideration. So a money bill can be either given assent by the governor or the governor can withhold assent to a money bill. The governor cannot send the money bill back for reconsideration. And the third option is the governor reserves that bill for the consideration of the president. This is considered to be the discretionary power of the governor. Why? Because there is no time limit within which the governor has to act. In how many days, weeks, months, years, or centuries will the governor declare that I'm not going to sign this bill, or sends this bill back, or reserves this bill for the consideration of the president? There is no time limit. On top of that, Constitution says in one instance it is not discretionary power of the governor to reserve a bill for the consideration of the president. It is a mandatory thing. Mandatory where if the state legislature passes a bill which threatens the power of a high court, which derogates the power of the high court, then such a bill shall be reserved for the consideration of the president. That means in this instance, it is binding, it is mandatory on the role of the governor to reserve that bill for the consideration of the president. Otherwise, we say it is a discretionary power. But what the Tamil Nadu governor has done, he has done something bizarre. For a long period of time, he was sitting on these bills, not giving assent. Then some of these bills, he sent the bill back to the state legislature for reconsideration. When the same bill was passed again by the state legislature, then this bill was sent to the governor again. Now, this time, what the governor is doing, the governor is reserving this bill for the consideration of the president. That means the second time, which constitutionally is not possible, constitutionally is not permissible. And 10 such bills were reserved by the governor for the consideration of the president, even after the state legislature had passed these bills for the second time, where we thought that now it is binding on the governor to sign these bills. What Supreme Court has done when this matter reached the Supreme Court invoked its power under Article 142 of the Constitution. And a power is given by the Constitution to the Supreme Court under Article 142, where Supreme Court can give any order so as to give complete justice between parties. Now, there are two parties to this case. There is government of Tamil Nadu, there is the governor of Tamil Nadu. Now, if we have to give justice in this case, there is no option. In case the governor violates the constitution, what are the possible judgments that can be given by the court? What is the possible remedy that can be given by the court? It's not mentioned anywhere. Even if it is not mentioned anywhere, so as to give complete justice in a particular case, the Supreme Court can invoke its power under Article 142 and give complete justice. And the complete justice in this case, Supreme Court said, all these 10 bills shall be deemed to have been assented by the governor. That means now you don't have to send these bill back to the governor for reconsideration, for signing. Or the court is not asking the governor now consider signing these bills or giving assent to this bill. The court is saying enough is enough. All these bills which have been reserved for the consideration of the president, even after that, if president has done something that is all illegal, erroneous, in violation of the constitution, all these bills shall be deemed to have been assented by the governor. And to prevent the future misuse of these discretionary powers, now the court has put a time limit. And that is why I said the court has effectively rewritten the constitution, because if there is no time limit prescribed by the constitution, now a time limit has been imposed by the Supreme Court on the governor itself. And the Supreme Court says if there is a bill which is passed by the state legislature and sent to the governor, listen to me carefully, on the advice of the governor, on the advice of the chief minister. If the chief minister and the council of ministers and the cabinet advise the governor that you withhold assent, don't sign this bill, then within 1 month, the governor has to publicly declare, I'm not going to sign this bill, which means that will be on the advice of the state cabinet. Once the advice is given by the state cabinet to the governor that don't give assent to this bill, the governor has to act within 1 month and publicly declare that I'm not going to sign this bill. Second, if this bill, which has been passed by the state legislature, is given to the governor for assent, and the governor returns this bill to the state legislature for reconsideration, because the constitution says if a bill has been returned by the governor for the state legislature to reconsider, constitution says shall, as soon as may be. And what is this as soon as may be? It cannot be months, it cannot be years, it cannot be decades, it cannot be centuries. The very reason that this word shall has been used in the constitution, English word shall, means it is mandatory that as soon as possible you have to send this bill back to the state legislature for reconsideration. And if the state legislature passes the same bill again, then within 3 months you have to give assent to that. And you have 3 months also to reserve a bill for the consideration of the president. If you have 3 months for this bill to be reserved for the consideration of the president, then if this bill, which has been passed by the state legislature again, then you have 1 month to give assent to this bill. Long story short, the matter before the Supreme Court was that the governor of a state is sitting on these bills using his power, which is not mentioned in the constitution anywhere, called pocket veto. Supreme Court said there is no such thing as pocket veto. The governor has to be a sagacious guide to the state government. You cannot be a hindrance to the government. You cannot be the hindrance to governance. And what the court has now done? The court has imposed time limits. First, what the court has done? The court has said that all these bills which were reserved for the consideration of the president, they shall be deemed to have been assented to by the governor. Second, what the court has done? Imposed time limit. Time limit in the sense you have 1 month to withhold assent to a bill, but on the advice of the state cabinet. Then you have 3 months. If a bill has been passed by the state legislature to the governor has 3 months to return this bill for the consideration of the president. But once the same bill is passed again by the state legislature, within 1 month, you have to give assent. You cannot be sitting on these bills. And the governor has 3 months to reserve a bill for the consideration of the president. It cannot be for an indefinite, unlimited period of time. And the court has done this by invoking this power under Article 142 of the Constitution. Now, listen to me carefully. Let's look at the wider picture. When it comes to the role of the speaker related to matters such as anti defection law and why this judgment is significant, in anti defection law, also, there is no time limit mentioned within which the speaker has to act on these disqualification petitions. Supreme Court previously had considered that within 3 months the speaker should take the decision, but it was not binding. It was part of obiter dicta. It was an oral observation made by the court. It was not part of the judgment. So judiciary for a long period of time was exercising restraint when constitution was being violated by the constitutional officers. The judiciary was exercising restraint and not rewriting the constitution, not imposing limits which originally were not imposed by the constitution. The judiciary was exercising restraint even when there was a brazen violation of anti-defection law where no time limit is prescribed for the speaker to act. The Supreme Court did not invoke its plenary powers to prescribe a time limit. Yes, Supreme Court did invoke Article 142 even in anti-defection law cases, but that was to remove a minister. For example, when a Manipur minister, forest minister T. Sham Kumar was removed by the Supreme Court by invoking Article 142, even then, time limit was not prescribed for the speaker to decide these disqualification petitions. Now, can this be a precedent where this judgment of the Supreme Court will further guide the future Supreme Court judges in deciding and prescribing time limit within anti-defection law as provisions as well? That's number one. That is the impact of this judgment, number one. Second impact, we have seen that similar action was done by the Telangana governor as well. Similar action was done by the Kerala governor as well, the then Kerala governor Arif Mohammed Khan. These matters are also pending before the court. So this judgment will have an impact on these other cases as well, involving Telangana, involving Karnataka, involving Kerala as well. That's impact number two. Impact number three. For example, there was a time when Punjab governor, for example, there was a tussle between Punjab governor and the chief minister of Punjab. The chief minister of Punjab, Mr. Bhagwant Mann, his government had sent some 200 school teachers to Singapore to visit Singapore and draw inspiration from the school model, education model in Singapore. The governor is shooting a letter to the chief minister asking the chief minister, what is the qualification, on what basis, on what grounds did you select these 200 teachers to go to Singapore? What was the qualification of these teachers? The chief minister is replying back in a letter saying, what is your qualification? How you have been appointed as the governor of a state? And the governor got angry because of this. And when the state cabinet advised the governor that you summon the budget session of the state legislature, governor said, I'm not going to summon. Then this matter went to the court. And the Supreme Court castigated both the governor as well as the chief minister on the grounds that you are involved in this tussle between the two of you, and you should respect the constitutional boundaries. Supreme Court clarified that governor does not have a discretion in summoning the state legislature. More often than not, we have been accusing the Supreme Court of violating the separation of powers, of misusing Article 142, of practicing judicial activism or judicial overreach or judicial adventurism. But you tell me what other option Supreme Court has if our other constitutional functionaries are not resolving their disputes separately without going to the court. So this will have an important ramification on the future constitutional cases that will come up. And in today's Indian Express, limits to the governor's powers, this has been beautifully explained in today's Indian Express, but you don't need to read this article. Whatever needed to be discussed and understood from this topic, we have covered. Now, if you have some questions on this, please let me know. Okay. Summary of these time limits. Summary is here. If a bill has been passed by the state legislature, sent to the governor has 1 month to accept the advice of the state cabinet, whether the advice is to accept this bill or reject this bill. But if the governor wants to send this bill back to the state legislature for reconsideration, you can do that in 3 months. But if the same bill is passed again, you have 1 month to give assent to this bill. And the governor will have 3 months to decide whether this bill should be reserved for the consideration of the president. Also, although in 2018 and then again in 2023, the Supreme Court had said with respect to the Delhi case because there was a tussle between the Delhi chief minister and the lieutenant governor as well, where bills were reserved by the lieutenant governor for the consideration of the president. Supreme Court had said in that case that reserving this bill for the consideration of the president cannot be a mechanical exercise. That there is a bill passed by the state legislature, you are reserving it for the consideration of the president like a mechanical exercise. You have to apply logic, cogent reasons should be given why you are reserving this bill for the consideration of the president. So, this is an important matter. Let's wait and watch how the future will transpire and whether this can be a precedent in case of anti defection law as well. That is why this question discuss the constitutional position of the office of the governor of a state by citing relevant case laws. Let's look at, okay, there is also an announcement. If you wish to study with us, prepare for the civil services examination with us, then you can do that right now because right now I am told that there is a lucrative discount on offer where our UPSC subscription is available at a 60% discount. Plus, if you enroll for 12 months, let's say, you can get 12 months free extension as well. So effectively, you're subscribing for 2 years at the price of 1 year. Let's look at another column, the gradual transformation of the Home Ministry. If you look at your GS paper 2 syllabus, it talks about structure, organization, and functioning of the executive and the judiciary, ministries and departments of the government. And here, Ministry of Home Affairs is being discussed. If you look at Ministry of Home Affairs, it has various departments, such as Department of Home, Department of Official Language, Department of States, Department of Internal Security, Department of Border Management, and Department of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh Affairs. According to this column, previously, Home Ministry would act like a crisis manager. When there is an insurgency, when there is a terror attack, because Home Ministry deals with entire internal security of the country. So Home Ministry previously would act like a crisis manager. Whenever there is a crisis, now we have to manage it. And it will interfere, it will step in only when there are riots, there are insurgencies, or there is a governance failure. Now, according to this column, because of Mr. Modi and the home ministers, because there has been some stability in the home ministry, which I will tell you slightly later what that stability is. Prime Minister Modi's motto is reform, perform, and transform. And because of this motto, now the home ministry has transformed itself and it is now focused on preventing riots, preventing insurgencies, preventing governance failures, rather than merely acting on them, reacting towards them when the problem arises. So, what the column is saying, previously, Home Ministry would be a crisis manager and would only step in when there is a problem. Now, what the Home Ministry is doing, it is trying to prevent these problems from occurring in the first place. And instead of being reactive, now it is proactive. How? Let's look at Home Ministry, for example. What has been the role of the Home Ministry traditionally? Internal security is under the ambit of the Home Ministry to ensure that there is no insurgency, no terrorism, there is law and order throughout the country. But we have faced challenges. Challenges, for example, in Kashmir, because of the proxy war launched by Pakistan, because Pakistan got defeated in the war multiple times. And then, when General Ziaul Haq was the dictator of Pakistan, the administrator of Pakistan, he started a policy called Bleeding India through thousand cuts. We may not win a war with India directly, but now we will resort to proxy wars. We will train the jihadists and the militants and the terrorists. We'll send them across the border to create internal security problems in India. We faced this problem in Kashmir. We faced the Khalistani uprising in Punjab as well. And then we had a problem related to Naxalism and Maoism in the central India. So when the Home Ministry was entirely focused on tackling these problems related to Kashmir or related to Khalistan, Punjab, related to the Naxalism affected areas in the central India, which primarily means that there was no role or no space or no opportunity for the state police to modernize itself. So police modernization took a back seat because we were only focusing on controlling these situations. When police failed to modernize itself, remember, police comes under state list under the distribution of powers. So every state will have its own police force. But police modernization takes a back seat, it's put on a back burner. And when the state needs police for riots, for insurgency, they will request the center for security force. This is where the role of central armed police forces, which come under home ministries, CAPF, for example, whether it is the Assam Rifles, whether it is the Border Security Force, the BSF, whether it is Sashastra Seema Bal, whether it is, let's say, CISF, whether it is CRPF. So the states, because they have not effectively implemented police modernization techniques, now they are relying on the central armed police forces for security arrangement, which puts an additional pressure on the Home Ministry. Why CISF was established in the first place, particularly in Kerala as well as in West Bengal, there was a lot of industrial unrest because of the communists, because of the left wing leaders, because of the trade unions. There was a lot of industrial unrest. And that is why, to provide security to the industrial outputs, to provide security to the industries, CISF was born. But over a period of time, the role of the Home Ministry is expanded. Now, even disaster management is under the control of the Home Ministry. Cyclones, hurricanes, earthquakes, and to manage these disasters, to effectively implement the disaster response plans, we have the disaster management, which is also under Home Ministry. And we are facing another challenge in the form of narcotics. Narcotics Control Bureau, NCB, was also established under the Home Ministry. And it is evident that now Pakistan is using drones to send narcotics and drugs across the border in Punjab as well as in Kashmir. And that is why we see the problem of menace in Kashmir as well as in Punjab. So, Home Ministry's ambit has now expanded. Now, it is no longer only taking care of the internal security, it is also there to manage the disaster response. It is also there to control the narcotics problem that we have in this country. And over a period of time, what we have seen, where the focus was on terrorism, focus was on insurgency, focus was on Maoism, less focus was on other areas, for example, police modernization that I told you. And there was a time when we would see frequent changes in the Home Ministry. But when Mr. Modi came to power, we have seen some stability. That's what I was talking about. Mr. Rajnath Singh was the Home Minister for full 5 year term in 2014 to 2019. From 2019 onwards, now Mr. Amit Shah is the Home Minister. So there is some stability because when 26/11 attacks took place, Shivraj Singh Patil was the Home Minister. He was changed and P. Chidambaram was appointed. In fact, it is argued that we have seen frequent changes in the Home Ministry, the Cabinet Minister of Home Affairs, frequently in India since independence. Although when Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, Mr. Advani was the Home Minister consistently. So some stability has to be needed, is required for someone to be at the helm of the affairs and to effect the changes. And what else has happened? What extra change has happened because of the stability? Now listen to me carefully. TADA, Terrorists and Disruptive Activities Act, it was brought into because of Punjab insurgency. Another law, POTA, Prevention of Terrorist Act, It was brought into force because there was a parliament attack. NIA, National Investigation Agency, was created, which was in response to 26/11 Mumbai attacks. That is why I told you earlier that Home Ministry was previously reactive, or our security establishment was reactive. Our lawmaking was reactive. There is insurgency in Punjab, for that we will have TADA. There is parliament attack has taken place. Now we need a stricter law. We brought in the POTA. 26/11 attacks took place, and there was a need because when 26/11 attacks took place, why such a mayhem was created? It is because there was no coordination amongst different agencies between Coast Guard and others. Because these terrorists came from using the sea route, entered Mumbai, and caused havoc. And there was a time when it was felt that we need a centralized agency, just like we have a Department of Homeland Security in United States, which was created after the September 11 attacks. We need similar centralized agency to investigate terrorism and terror-related cases. And that is how NIA was born. So we were always reacting to the challenges that we are facing. And now, according to this author, we are proactive. Without reacting to any situation, we are now proactive in the sense we amended the NIA Act in 2019, further strengthened NIA. Now, NIA can investigate terrorism cases in a state even without the advice of the state government, even without the permission of the state government, even without involving the Director General of the state. We amended the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act in 2019 to ensure that even an individual can be designated as a terrorist, because previously only organizations could have been designated as terrorist organizations or unlawful organizations. Now individuals can also be designated as terrorists. So we have now moved away, shifted from being reactive, and now we are being proactive. And this column says what we have done now, the three important laws which have been passed to replace Indian Penal Code, to replace Indian Evidence Act, to replace the Criminal Procedure Code. It has the imprint of the Home Ministry because now we are no longer reactive, we are proactive. Although there have been criticism of these three laws on the grounds that it is only a name change. You have changed the English name to Hindi names, but in reality, it's still the same Indian Penal Code. But that is not entirely true because now community service has been imposed as part of a punishment under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. A lot of reforms have been implemented. Plea bargaining is another tool which is incorporated in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. We have also seen the registration or the backing for a zero FIR, where even if the crime has not been committed here, but you can register FIR in this police station, and then this police station will transfer this case to another police station of the jurisdiction. So we are no longer reactive, but we are being proactive. And now, what we have also done, we have given full implementation to CCTNS, Criminal Tracking Network systems. And through this, 17,130 police stations, courts, jails, forensic laboratories are interconnected. We have also established what is called National Forensic Science University as well. For the first time in the year 2019, the budget for the Union Home Ministry crossed 1 lakh crore. In the recently passed Union budget, this budget allocation has surged to 2.3 lakh crores. That means now the focus of the government is on police modernization as well. The focus is on internal security at the same time. And we are all already witnessing impact of these changes. The violence and terror related cases in Jammu and Kashmir is at an all time low. There are no stone throwing incidents taking place. There are no mass protests happening in Jammu and Kashmir right now, despite the fact that massive change was made in August 2019 when the special status for Jammu and Kashmir was revoked. Even then, we did not witness the massive, large scale protests that used to take place previously. That is because of the iron hand grip that Home Ministry has on internal security. There are now talks, for example, if you look at today's newspaper as well, encounters took place at Sukma in Chhattisgarh, for which investigation is being carried out. But the Supreme Court has said, no, we will stop it right now because there is already surrendering happening because the Maoists, the Naxalites are now surrendering in large numbers. And Naxal affected crimes have also come to an all time low. And remember, this is the area which Dr. Manmohan Singh, when he was the prime minister, he said that Naxalism is India's gravest internal security threat. And now, because of the close coordination and stability at the helm of the Home Ministry, we have tackled these problems to a large extent. Violence has come down, stone throwing incidents have come down, Naxal affected areas, this red corridor, which was a complete no go zone for the security establishment because there were some liberated areas in Chhattisgarh and other areas where the state was absent. The Maoists and Naxalites were controlling these areas. Bastar is an example for that. And look at the insurgency in Northeast, it has also come down in large numbers because now we are talking to NSC and the Nagaland separatist organizations as well. Although there was a talk of a Naga peace accord which was signed, but what are the details of that Naga peace accord? We don't know. In fact, some also said that that accord was threatened by Mr. Ravi, who is currently the governor of Tamil Nadu, when he was the governor of Nagaland, because he was transferred from Nagaland to Tamil Nadu. So created problems first in Nagaland, then in Tamil Nadu, and now he should be removed. But be that as it may, this is what you need to know from this topic, the gradual transformation of the Home Ministry. Okay? Now let's look at another editorial, a regional revival. BIMSTEC. The recent sixth summit of BIMSTEC took place, despite the fact that there was a massive earthquake as well. This is a regional organization which was established in 1997 through a declaration called the Bangkok Declaration. Initially, it was not BIMSTEC. Initially, it was known as BISTEC because it was Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and Thailand economic cooperation. But later on, three more countries got added. So today, it is a seven-member regional organization. Which are these seven members? Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand. Myanmar got added in 1997. Bhutan and Nepal got added in 2004. So it is a seven-member regional organization. And this BIMSTEC was created so as to act like a bridge because we had SARC on one hand, which was established in 1985 in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, called South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. And then there is another organization called ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So BIMSTEC was created as some form of a bridging mechanism between SARC and ASEAN. Why we needed this? Because look at BIMSTEC. This is the Bay of Bengal region, a very important route. Close to one fourth of the world trade passes through this route. For China, it is very important because China, through Bay of Bengal, gets access to the Indian Ocean. For India, it is also very important because we can counter China in its Belt and Road Initiative or Maritime Silk Road Initiative. And this is also a very important aspect for us in our Look East policy. And look at ASEAN. Maybe there was a time when one question was asked in the prelims examination, I think in 2015, when it was asked who of the which of the following are not the members of ASEAN. So you have to keep in mind that India is not a member of ASEAN. So these are the 10 countries which are part of ASEAN. So look at the countries which are part of ASEAN and look at the countries which are part of SARC. As a bridging mechanism, we had BIMSTEC. And why BIMSTEC was created? So that we can act as a regional cooperation mechanism And we will strengthen areas such as trade in this region, connectivity, energy requirement. And at the same time, if you look at SARC, because of India Pakistan issues, SARC is almost a dead organization now. It is almost a defunct organization. So, as a counter to SARC, because of India Pakistan conflict, it is almost defunct. We need another organization to deal with the countries in our neighborhood. And that is how BIMSTEC was born. Similarly, the idea was to link South with Southeast Asia. And because of that, we will have a better regional integration. And last and the most important reason was we should leverage to use the geographical location, the strategic location of this Bay of Bengal region. And it is a very, very rich source in terms of resources are rich, the connectivity, maritime connectivity, how can we connect to the neighboring countries in the region? This is a strategically very important region. That is why our presence is a must in this region. That is why BIMSTEC was created. But now there are some problems with BIMSTEC. Problem in the sense slow progress and weak institutional capacity. Despite big ambitions, we haven't achieved much because of BIMSTEC. And the reason is meetings are less frequent. Established in 1997 and recently sixth summit took place. There was a time when we thought that we will meet every 2 years, but that did not happen because of the COVID-19 pandemic as well. But since the meetings are infrequent, less regular, BIMSTEC has not achieved the potential that it has. This problem is further exacerbated by the fact that there are overlapping concerns. BIMSTEC as an entity for regional cooperation, SPARC also for regional cooperation, and for some countries which are part of BIMSTEC, they are part of ASEAN as well. That is why they have different priorities. Different members of BIMSTEC, different priorities, different objectives. And then there is this dragon, China. Who are the countries which are part of BIMSTEC? Bangladesh, the administrator of Bangladesh, the interim head of the government in Bangladesh, Muhammad Yunus, what he spoke of the chicken neck in India. He said that the entire Northeast is a landlocked area and Bangladesh becomes the entry point to this area. So, inviting China to invest in this region. Basically, he gives an impression that we have to cut this Chinese neck so that Northeast goes out of the mainland of India, out of the territory of India. So, there is a huge Chinese grip on Bangladesh. There is a Chinese grip on Sri Lanka as well. Hambantota port and various other initiatives taken by China to control. And that is how we say that China is engaging in something called debt trap. These smaller countries, these countries which are relatively poor, loans are given at lucrative rates by China. And when these countries are unable to repay the loan, infrastructure is taken over, ports are taken over, airports are taken over by China. So China is doing what? Practicing something called debt trap diplomacy, giving debt and then trapping these smaller countries and utilizing its influence. And that is how once Booz Allen, a defense US contractor, he said that there is something called string of pearls where India is being encircled by the Chinese investments in our region, whether it is Myanmar, whether it is Bangladesh, whether it is Sri Lanka, whether it is the Gwadar port in Karachi. And at the same time, we know what the problem is in Myanmar. There is no civilian government in Myanmar. There is a military junta which is controlling the government. Aung San Suu Kyi's government was overthrown. Aung San Suu Kyi was arrested. So the countries which are part of BIMSTEC, there is this wider Chinese influence over those countries as well. That is why we have not realized the full potential of BIMSTEC. And at the same time, this BIMSTEC as an organization is very important because our Look East policy is getting complemented by BIMSTEC. Even the Gujarat doctrine, which was innovated by Mr. I.K. Gujral when he was the prime minister, wherein he said that we have to not follow reciprocity when it comes to our dealings with the smaller countries in our neighborhood. We should not be acting like a bully. We should be acting like a big brother. So we should give more to these smaller countries than what they can give us. So this BIMSTEC as an organization, it beautifully complements our Act East policy launched by Mr. Modi as well. It is our alternative to SARC because of India Pakistan conflict. It strengthens the maritime and economic strategy in this Bay of Bengal region. And as I told you previously, it balances the Chinese influence because China is creating a lot of infrastructure in this region. Carnegie Foundation has a beautiful article on BIMSTEC, and I've extracted something from that article, and that is on your screen. And read it with me, it becomes important. Linking Indian and Pacific Oceans, because Bay of Bengal, what it does, it links Indian and Pacific Ocean. That is why this Bay of Bengal region, it occupies a very important position in the global trade. As I told you, one fourth or 25% of the world traded goods, they cross the Bay of Bengal every year. For China, this region is very important because China, through this Bay of Bengal, gets access to the Indian Ocean region. For India, it is very important because how can we project our naval capabilities? For various expeditions, we need this region and we need the free movement of our navies in this region. Bay of Bengal becomes important. Yet, despite its status as a key maritime hub, there is no close coordination amongst the members of BIMSTEC. That's the biggest problem. So the best way to realize the potential of this organization is that these countries which are part of BIMSTEC, they should have close coordination with each other, which unfortunately we do not have currently because of Bangladesh, because there is no civilian government in Myanmar. In fact, we had implemented or we had tried to implement what? Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal roadwork, but it was not approved by the Bhutanese parliament. Bhutan objected to this. So there is no close coordination amongst the members of this entity, and that is what is stopping it from realizing its potential. But the biggest problem is, according to historian Sunil Amrit, you may have heard of SARC, you may have heard of ASEAN, you may have heard of other entities, other regional organizations, you may have heard of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, but not many people would have heard of BIMSTEC. And that is the problem, according to this historian. He says that the absence of BIMSTEC from public consciousness is a problem. And when it is problem, that means the challenge is of imagination. If there is better interconnectivity amongst the members of this organization, only then it will be in a position to realize its full potential. And that is why this question is there on your screen. The absence of BIMSTEC from the public consciousness is a problem. Suggest measures to strengthen BIMSTEC and to advance regional integration, better connectivity. There? Great. Let's look at another column, strengthening enforcement of judicial orders. There is a case which reaches the court gives an order, and this order then needs to be enforced. Order is very important, but even more important is the enforcement of the order of the court. Similarly, for example, we have National Green Tribunal, which is a quasi judicial body. It will hear only environmental related cases and then it will give an order. And the efficiency of this order is contingent upon the way in which these orders have been enforced. According to this writer, 2 years ago, National Green Tribunal gave an order that in Jaipur, for example, the highways should be a no horn zone between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. and which has not been implemented on ground, which primarily means that this order is of no value whatsoever. This writer says the best thing that could have happened is whenever judiciary gives an order, judiciary should also anticipate whether this order is implementable on the ground or not. Or should we anticipate whether this order will be implemented or not? If not, then we can change our order or we can give the order that is worth to be implemented or that can be implemented. According to the writer, the best order should have been complete ban on honking. Don't just make a time zone that between this time and this time there should be no horn, no air horn usage in this area. Completely invoke a ban on horn. Honking should be completely banned. For example, he says this has been done in Kathmandu in Nepal, and then because of public awareness, because of public participation, this ban is effectively working. So, according to this writer, what we need to understand is the judiciary, while giving orders, should also anticipate whether these orders are implementable or not, and then suggest something else. And what is that something else? For example, in 2017, in a case known as State of Tamil Nadu versus K. Balu, Supreme Court said, and Supreme Court was hearing a case where there were incidents of drunken driving. So the truck drivers, they would ply on the national highways, but on the national highways there would be liquor shops as well. Since they are consuming liquor by buying liquor from the nearby shops and then driving, drunken driving, it leads to accidents, it causes death, it causes destruction of property as well. And what the court said? Court said ban liquor within 500 meters of national highways. This was the judicial order. But how to skirt this order to ensure that we don't implement this order? The governments changed the rules, converting national highways into urban roads. Some part of the national highways, they were renamed as urban roads, which means now this ban is not applicable on this urban road. If within 500 meters you can't sell the liquor, now liquor shops were pushed slightly ahead of 500 meters. So there are enough ways to which you can make these judicial orders unimplementable. But this writer says that there have been at least two instances or many instances where some of the judicial orders have been effectively implemented. And he cites the example of 2018 related to passive euthanasia. These rules, according to the writer, has been effectively implemented. But I disagree with the writer. These rules, if they would have been effectively implemented, then there was no need to change the rules. The very fact that these rules, which were invoked by the announced by the court, ordered by the court in 2018, these rules had to be changed in 2022 because some of these guidelines were unimplementable. For example, this was related to passive euthanasia. For example, the right to a living will. I can, when I'm in sound health, sound body and mind, I can make a living will that tomorrow, if something happens to me where I'm unable to decide the future medical course of action, for example, I can say in my living will that don't put me on the ventilator support. I had to get this wills countersigned by judicial magistrate first class, and I have to search for him, making it difficult. I had to get this living will signed by, countersigned by, and then you had to set up a board, and then the board will have doctors which will have 20 years of experience. Where can I find such a doctor in a rural area with a 20-year experience? Because these orders were unimplementable. That is why we changed these rules in 2022, so that now you don't have to get it certified by judicial magistrate first class. You can get it signed by any gazetted officer. And when that medical board will be constituted, for that the experience of the doctors should be 5 years and not 20 years. But be that as it may, this writer says that enforcement has been effective in this passive euthanasia case. Enforcement has been effective also in the Taj trapezium zone case, where there was proper enforcement, because there was an element of there was an element of pollution which could have affected the Taj as well. Then strict guidelines were issued. Green belt was established around the Mathura oil refinery, and there were officers who were designated to monitor and ensure the compliance of these directives. And that is the crux of this article. The crux of this article is that orders are given by the court, but how these orders are effectively implemented on the ground, for that we need officers. And according to the writer, these officers should be accountable to the judiciary. And in case these orders are violated, then these officers will be held liable for the violation, which means you are fixing accountability as well. That is the crux of this article. So, the crux of this article is judiciary gives an order, a tribunal gives an order, but it depends on how these orders are effectively implemented on ground. In some cases, for example, in passive euthanasia case, Taj trapezium case, according to the writer, the orders have been effectively implemented, enforced on the ground. But in other cases, we have not seen the enforcement. For enforcement to effectively implement, we need officers who will be accountable to the judiciary. And then these officers will also be personally accountable, held liable in case these orders are violated on ground. That's how we can make these judicial orders effective. Strengthening the enforcement of judicial orders is the need of the hour. Let's look at the last topic. Banu Mushtaq's Heart Lamp makes it to the Booker shortlist. But is it a Booker Prize, or is it an international Booker Prize? And what is the difference between a Booker Prize and an international Booker Prize? This Booker Prize started in 1969, and which is considered to be one of the best awards in fiction writing in English language. And automatically, if you are awarded with a Booker Prize, you are guaranteed high viewership, high readership. That means your books will then be sold. And we have had a lot many Indians who have received this Booker Prize. For example, Salman Rushdie, Arundhati Roy, Arvind Adiga, Anita Desai, and various others. That is a Booker Prize. Initially, Booker Prize was only for English language. It is even now only for English language, but it was open for only those countries which were part of the Commonwealth. Zimbabwe was later added, but now it has been expanded to any country. As long as your novel has been published in UK and Ireland. Long story short, you are eligible for a Booker Prize, which is considered to be the highest prize in English for fiction writing, because fiction is included, non fiction is not, fiction is included. This award started in 1969. Its focus is on fiction. You must have written in English language, and it should have been published in UK and Ireland. You can be from any nationality, not necessarily from Commonwealth, any nationality, but you must have written in English, and this book should have been published in UK and Ireland. And it should be original. It should not be translated. But sir, this is a translated work. For translated work, we have International Booker Prize. Best translated work of fiction. So even if the original work is in Bengali, Urdu, Kannada, any language, but it has been translated into English, and then this book has been published in, or this novel has been published, this work has been published in UK and Ireland, you become eligible for International Booker Prize. But listen to me carefully. Novels and short stories are eligible. Short stories are eligible only for International Booker Prize. Booker Prize, only novels, not short stories, are eligible. But short stories are open only for eligible only for International Booker Prize, because the committee has said that there may be other countries where short stories are the basic, important, and popular form of writing. So for translated work in English, there is International Booker Prize. For original work in English in fiction, there is a Booker Prize. And in International Booker Prize, the prize money is split between the author and the translator as well. Because in Booker Prize, only the author gets, because it's an original work. But in International Booker Prize, since it's a translated work in English, so translator as well as the author, they equally share this prize money. This differentiation may be important for your prelims examination, because over a period of time for the last few years, sometimes questions have also been asked related to awards related to authors. Maybe this can be important question for your upcoming prelims examination. Okay, that is it for today. Thank you so much for staying with me. And if you have understood all the topics that we have covered, do not forget to press the like button. I can see 155, despite 365 are watching. What about the remaining 210? Press the like button, and I will see you when I see you. Till then, have a great time. All the best.